You're listening to the Reality of It All podcast, candid conversations about today's hot topics. And now here's your host, Tracy Osborne. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are talking about how easy it can be to become addicted to credit cards, especially credit cards with 0% interest. And, as many of you know, using credit cards just makes it so much easier. You swipe it on the card, you forget about it and pay it off later. But those rack up. And next thing you know, you're $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in debt. And all of a sudden they decide to start charging interest, and that makes it even more. And you're just in a credit card nightmare. So joining me today is Lisa Drennon, and she knows all too well what it's like to become addicted to spending money using 0% credit cards. And, after running up $50,000 in debt, she really had to kind of take a look at what was going on and why she was doing this. So Lisa, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share my story. And I actually wrote down all of the debt. I had estimated it at 50,000, but when I actually wrote it down in paper, it was 100,000.
Oof. Ouch.
Yeah. Really ouch.
50,000 sounds so much better when you say it like that. But so this kind of started way back in the late 80s to mid 2000s. What kind of triggered this and caused all the spending and self-sabotage?
Well, it's funny because I didn't understand what caused it until recently. And what I had found was that I kept repeating this negative behavior. So in 1985, prior to age of 17, I had 3 pregnancies, 2 ended in abortion. And I didn't realize at that time how devastating it had made my mindset as far as looking in the mirror and verbally abusing myself, giving myself negative self-talk. I was on drugs, turned to overeating, overspending. And if I wanted something, the 3rd pregnancy, I chose to be a single mom. And if my baby needed something, I was making $5 an hour. I needed to do something. So, credit cards were really popular, and we're like, oh, you can go to JCPenney and you can just charge it and pay later. So that's how I got clothes for my child. And then I wanted clothes. And the next thing you know, I have all these credit cards. And I've always worked full-time with a side gig. I took the part-time job to apply to pay for these credit cards because I started building up the interest and I was getting concerned. I wanted to move out. I was living at home. And I thought, I don't want to live at home. I'm 18 years old. I need to get independent here. I'm a mom. And I ended up helping a family member at their business, and they asked for my driver's license for payroll purposes. And I was like, okay, whatever, didn't make sense, but I did it, trusted the person. Well, a year later, I found out that they forged my name on a loan and they were going to come repossess my car, which was on a loan as well. And I was like, oh, okay, no. So I took action and I ended up having to go bankrupt after I looked at my debt at that time. So I filed bankruptcy at 21 years old. And I was a paralegal at the time, so I represented myself. And I thought, okay, I'm never going to do that again. So for 7 years, I couldn't get credit. And I worked and I saved. And I just always felt like I didn't have enough. I needed to do more. So I continued with the side gig. I became an independent rep for a company. Worked full time, couldn't make ends meet. Don't know what the disconnect was. So I met my husband, and my husband was like, oh, well, all you got to do is, take all your money, put it in a savings account, and just withdraw your spending money. That didn't work for me.
It's all spending money. Hello.
Yeah. And we had a difference of opinion. So we kind of kept everything separate for various reasons. And as I got older, I became debt free and I started saving, and I had all this money saved for investments. But for the life of me, I could not save an emergency savings account. I started following Dave Ramsey, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to start saving for this emergency savings. My kids were growing up. I was having more children. I wanted to, be able to do college and all of that. I couldn't do it. Every time I put money in my savings account, an emergency would happen. I'd have to withdraw it. And then it would take forever to put it back in because the kids wanted this, the kids wanted that. So fast forward, and I realized that these 0% credit offers were like awesome. Like, I don't have to pay for it now. I can pay for it later. Well, later came and the interest was back charged to the day one. And all of a sudden I was in debt. Like, the first time I looked at it, it was like $10,000. So I had a college account for one of my children, and I took that money out to pay off the debt. I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do it again. Didn't work. Triggers came, and I didn't know at that time what they were. So I kept this cycle repeatedly until it got to the point where I went through a crisis. In 2016, I left my husband. I got my own place, of course, put that on credit card because you couldn't really afford all the things that I was doing. Went on vacations, decided to buy my kids cars, ended up getting all these gifts to try to make myself feel better. So here I am, 52 years old, looking at my debt going, what have I just done? Like, why did I do it? And I had to actually work with a money mindset coach to figure out the emotional cause of it. Because here I am saving for retirement. Investments were fantastic, but I couldn't save for emergency fund. I didn't want to pay cash for clothes or a car, or nothing. I just wanted to swipe. Well, come to find out, I have abandonment issues from when I was a kid. My parents were very wealthy. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. And when my parents split, my mom took us kids and lost everything and had to start all over again. And we went from riches to rags to riches. She remarried, moved us out to California. We lived the good life, came back. She left that guy, ended up coming back, starting her business again. She ended up marrying a guy who was a factory worker and who was divorced and paying a lot of alimony and child support. So the whole entire time, from the time I was 7 until the time I was basically 17, money doesn't grow on trees. We have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. It's your father's fault. If he didn't abandon us, you have to work. You have to work if you want something. So at 11 years old, I had to work full time in the summer, babysitting to buy all my school clothes. And I remember when I was 13 years old, I wanted a pair of Jordache jeans. I was dating myself back in the 80s. And they were $40. And, $40 for a pair of jeans is probably equivalent to like 70, 80 bucks now, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted these jeans so bad, and I would have done anything for them. My birthday and Christmas is in December. And I'm like, Mom, just let me have it for my birthday and Christmas. No, I'm not spending that much money on your birthday and Christmas. And I'm like, it's $40. How much are you spending? It's my birthday and Christmas. This is all I want is one pair of jeans. And she would rationalize with me. And I remember just getting so angry. I'm like, just get me the jeans. I never got them. And I actually bought them myself like several months later when they were not so popular. They went on the sales rack clearance type thing.
Right.
And I held resentment along with the abortions, along with the overeating, along with the thought process. Everything I had to do, I had to ask permission. I needed external validation. And I had to unravel all of that. So I had to go back like from 0 to 5 and look at why do I believe what I believe when it comes to money. And I did that for like 5-year segments of my life. And I realized it was all of this upbringing that I had and this loss and these thoughts that someone else made me believe because I wasn't strong enough, or, the habits that we create, the mindset is so powerful.
Do you think part of it, if you go from riches to rags and you bounce them back and forth, is, you felt like you just always had to have stuff around because that's what you were used to. And then all of a sudden you lost it and then you got it back again. So, is part of the spending habit, kind of based around that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because there's that in my subconscious, there's this thought that, well, you had it once, but you're going to lose it. So then you can get it back, but you're going to have to work harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't ever want to work harder. I just want to be consistent. So retraining my brain to say, okay, I don't need to swipe a credit card. I have the money available. Why am I swiping this credit card? What need is it feeling? And a lot of us have daddy issues, and it's sad. My father used to call me stupid when I was growing up. Like, you're so stupid. And I thought, I am not stupid. I'm going to prove you wrong. And I'd get so angry. And I would hear my mom talk about him and all the things that he got to do and that we didn't get to do, and the empty promises that he made. And I thought, that doesn't have to define who I am now. And I don't want to relay that message, convey that message to my kids. I want them to live differently. But I believe we're cursed from the third and fourth generations, because what we carry on, we just have these habits that we portray and we think. And I have 3 kids, and I talk to them, and they're all adults. My oldest is 35, my youngest is 23. And I always talk to them about money. I'm like, listen, we got to break this generational curse. We have to realize that money is our best friend, and it's here to help us, to help others, and we're supposed to be living in abundance. So let's live abundantly. So what is it that you want? And I got one son's a hustler. He'll just think of all kinds of ways to make money. He's always doing selling stuff and picking up side gigs, working full time, just really, really good with money. And then I have another child who kind of is like me, like, let money freely flow, and yeah, we're going to do something with it. And then I have another son who's like, okay, I'm going to be a millionaire by this age, and I'm going to do this. I'm like, that's all fine and dandy, but what's the overall plan? Like, if you don't have a plan, if you're not appreciating money and thanking it, I like, one of my favorite things to do is this is in my desk drawer. And every day I look at it and I thank money, and I look around and I thank money. A lot of times people think money is this tangible thing, right? This is what money is to people. But if you look around, you have stuff. We have laptops, cell phones. That's all money. And when you could think about it, I read once years ago, if you woke up in the morning with all the things that you were thankful for, what would you have? And when I read that quote, I thought, yeah, I'm going to be thankful for all kinds of stuff, because I want to wake up with everything that I'm thankful for. So that perspective helped shape me and started getting me. But the layers were so deep. The wounds were so buried, because I was taught not to share my feelings. Right. Kids were meant to be heard, not seen. You don't tell anybody how you feel. You don't share any of this stuff because, one, you don't want anyone knowing your personal business. And 2, what are they going to think about you? They're going to really think that you're trash, So I had to overcome all of these hurdles. And I like to say my faith moved mountains, because I just kept at it. I kept doing the inner child work. I kept working through my thoughts and processing my feelings. AFT, aroma freedom therapy, and CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, was one of the strongest tools I used to break the patterns. And I found that unforgiveness towards my family was the key. Unforgiveness towards me for what I did to myself was the key in unlocking that heart, that joy, unspeakable joy that you can have. And that's what enabled me to recognize and say, okay, what exactly did I spend this $100,000 on? And I made a list. My coach uses art. So I drew a brick wall, because that's all I saw, 6 foot by 6 foot by 6 foot. So I drew this wall, and I started drawing out, pulling out all the things that I did with the money. I remodeled my bathrooms, my kitchen. I bought 2 cars for my kids. I paid for college for myself, for my kids. I went on vacation. I did beautiful vacations. And I thought, wow, these are all tangible things that I still have, that I still enjoy, that I'm still benefiting from. And my husband got really upset with me, because he's like, I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, it's an addiction. People are addicted to drugs and alcohol. People are addicted to retail therapy. I'm addicted to 0% credit cards. It's a legit addiction. And I was kidding with one of my kids. I'm like, maybe I can set up a rehab center. People go to rehab for drugs and alcohol. Let's go to rehab for 0% credit, because the stronghold that it keeps on you, it's powerful. It's super powerful.
It is, because you sit here and you think, okay, well, I can put this on the credit card and I have, a year to pay it off before they start charging me interest. So no problem. I'll get that paid off. Well, then a year goes by and all of a sudden they hit you with, 20-25% interest. And that's all backdated to day one. So next thing you know, you have a $5,000 credit or credit balance, and they hit you with interest. Next thing you know, it's like $8,000. So it's very easy to get caught up in that 0% interest. And on top of that, they just send you more and more cards. We're constantly getting credit card offers in the mail every single day. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah, this is a good one. I'll take this one. I'll transfer the balance over from this one. And, and then you play flippy flop, and it just is an absolute mess when you get down to the end of it. Absolutely.
It is. And it wasn't until I dealt with my mindset behind the emotional cause, that's when I was able to make the difference. I have a I hate debt worksheet, and I'm a certified Green Gap coach with ULA, which is their financial program. So I followed Dave Ramsey. I came so close to becoming a Dave Ramsey coach, but I was already a certified ULA life coach. And I'm like, they're offering this Green Gap. Let me check it out. The difference between the Green Gap was 45, 45, 10. 45% goes for investment. 45% goes for, your four walls. And then the 10% is your fun money. Having fun money to me was a breakthrough because I can actually enjoy the fruit of my labor. I mean, here I am, I'm working, 50 hours a week in my full-time gig. And then I'm working 10, 15 hours a week in my part-time gig. And I'm not enjoying anything. I'm not having any fun. Right. So to allocate that 10% for fun money really helped me enjoy it. But then I had to acknowledge my debt. I had been ignoring it, thinking it's just going to go away. And like you said, I got the 0% credit. When one would start, I'd be like, oh, when is this one going to expire? Let me transfer it. They still charge you fees for that, 3-4%, right? So here I am juggling all this debt. It's like a full-time job trying to figure all this out. And then when I wrote it all down and I added it up, I was like, whoa. And that number scared me. I cried. I just literally sat in my chair and cried. And I thought, what have I done? And then I added up all of my assets and my, the investment accounts. And I thought, fantastic. I mean, I just retired from my 30-year career. So in 1992, I started investing in my 401k, whatever the maximum was. And I used to get so mad at my husband because he's like, max out. Every time you get a raise, make sure you max it out. And I'm thinking, I'm the only person doing this. He goes, you're going to thank me. So here I am, 54 years old. I got to retire 2.5 years early because I did this one thing. And what worked for me was because I'm the type of person that I can save if you take it away from me. And I thought, all right, I'm going to save this money in my account. So it's just automatically going to come. I set up my bills that way. I pay all my bills by automatic withdrawal. That works for me. If you tell me I have to pay a bill by myself, it's going to be late. I just don't want to pay it. Put it on automatic. I'll take care of it right then. So I've had to work through these blockages that I've had. It's like, why don't you want to sit down and pay your bills? Because I just don't want to spend the time doing that. It should be automatic. I shouldn't have to worry about it. Why do I have a bill anyways? So walking through my mindset and working it out, but seeing the numbers on paper, seeing the investments, the income, and then the necessary expenses, and then the debt, it's like, okay, here's the picture. Where do you want to be 12 months from now? What do you want to do? Do you want to travel? Do you want to do this? My heart's desire is to open up a ministry called Divine Timing Ministries. I have my first board meeting tonight with three beautiful ladies. I'm so excited. It's going to be a not-for-profit for women who have faced unplanned pregnancies, who need that post-abortion care, who are looking to forgive themselves and take radical action to do so.
Oh, I love that.
It's a healing journey. Yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm actually going to be in Clubhouse every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Forgiving the Girl Inside, a matter of the heart, with any ladies that want to meet and talk and really understand what truly forgiving yourself means. But what we do is we take this unforgiveness and we apply it towards relationships, finances, our career. And we actually go into that victim triangle mode where we're either the victim, the rescuer, the perpetrator, and we're constantly blaming or playing this role. And that's not where we're supposed to be. We need to step out of that and just say, hey, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is the end result? What do I want? We want unspeakable joy. We want it regardless of our circumstances. We want to be able to say, you know what? There's something to be thankful for in that situation. And I have a purpose and I'm going to live out. I'm going to be fully equipped to live out my purpose because whatever I've experienced, it's okay. Yeah, I'm going to mess up, right? I'm going to make mistakes. I'm human.
Right.
But let me work through it. Instead of burying those feelings, let me process it and work through it so I can figure this out and I can extend myself and help someone else.
So what do you mean when you say unforgiveness?
So we hold on to unforgiveness when we refuse to forgive anyone who's offended us. A lot of people think that when you forgive, you have to allow the person to come back into your life. You have to have a relationship with them. So we refuse to forgive. I've talked to so many ladies. I'm not forgiving them. Did you see what they did? Did you see how they treated? Did you see what they did to my kids? Yeah, I totally get that. But forgiving them has nothing to do with them. They might not even know you forgive them. Forgiving them, it's and I can't remember the Greek word right now. I wrote it down to remember it. But the Greek word, the root word of forgiveness means to pardon or to let go. It's a matter of the heart. It's a heart condition. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you're refusing to let go of that anger, and that anger is going to eat you inside. To forgive someone, you just release yourself of thinking about it in that negative, derogatory way. I forgive you, period.
Right.
I was able to forgive. I did a study back on forgiveness in 2014. It was part of my healing journey. My healing journey began in 2013, and every year I added a step to my healing journey. So in 2014, I focused on forgiveness. What does that mean? Forgiveness means I can release it and I can begin the grieving and healing process. I'm never, ever going to forget what you did. I'm never going to forget how it hurt me and how it triggers me. But the more I process it and grieve it and heal from it, the less impact it's going to have on me. And eventually it gets to the point where I don't break down in tears. I don't get angry. I don't get frustrated. So I did that. I did that to the man I was in a relationship with that I had the 3 pregnancies with. I did it to my mom, my dad. Fast forward to 2019. I'm trying to forgive myself. I couldn't do it. I pretended I could do it. I wanted to forgive myself, but there's like no way. How I looked in the mirror and saw this murderer, this ugly, hateful person, full of bitterness, shame, and guilt. And I'm like, you don't deserve it. And on May 7th of 2021, which was Mother's Day weekend, my oldest son was born Mother's Day. I was in acupuncture, and I was laying on the table, and the practitioner had Young Living essential oils going. The lights were dim, and I was laying there talking to God, praying, and all of a sudden I got a vision of my 2 babies, Michael and Tamara, and they kissed me on the cheek, and they said, "Mommy, we forgive you. God forgave you a long time ago. Can you please forgive yourself so you can move forward with what you're supposed to do?" And I laid there and I was like, okay, did this just happen? And I opened up my eyes and the woman walked in and she's like, "Are you okay? Oh my God, are you hurting?" I'm like, "No, you're not going to believe what just happened." And it was such a heartful moment. And I thought, all right, how do I forgive myself? And I just said, "Lisa, I forgive you. You hurt me." And I went back to that moment, back to my 15-year-old self. And I revisited the situation that brought me there and why I was so enticed by this man who convinced me to, that this was the right thing to do. And I forgave my younger self and we moved forward. And that was in May. And I rebranded my program. And I still thought with myself, like, I'm not good enough. I had imposter syndrome. How can I help people forgive themselves when it took me so long to do it? Bingo.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
But that's exactly why I'm like the perfect coach for it, because I struggled with it from 1985 to 2021. and I have the shortcut now. And forgiveness is the key. And it's just all getting down and processing and grieving and understanding mindset, your thoughts, captivating them and realizing why are you doing what you're doing and creating that feeling, that emotion. And I have a process. We go down 7 layers deep, and it's through the Aroma Freedom CBT process. I've meshed these tools together to create this beautiful process of forgiving yours truly and going back and rewriting our story so that we can have release, so that we can have this unspeakable joy that is just absolutely, no one can take it away, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of what's going on. You have this joy in your heart that just permeates your whole entire being. And it's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to have days where you're not feeling angry, frustrated, or whatever.
Right.
You still process those. But the underlying feeling is, wow, I have a heartbeat. I get to breathe. I get to live. I get to do something fabulous today.
I love it. I love it. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on, telling us about your story. Being brave and open. It's hard to talk about having an abortion. I know I will talk about my traumas and my past all day long, except for that part. I don't want to admit, that's the one part I still struggle with. I really appreciate you having the courage and the bravery to come forward and talk with us about that, and talk with us about, how you got into debt and, how fixing your mindset, you were able to shift that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Listeners, I will have all of Lisa's contact information in her show notes. Just head over to therealityofitall.com and pull up Lisa's episode, and all of her contact information will be there so that you can reach out and get help for your credit card addiction. So again, thank you so much for coming on. Listeners, thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next show. That's it for today's show. Thanks for listening. Be sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and TikTok.